More than 1,000 musicians are releasing a silent album to campaign against the British government's plans to change copyright laws, which could allow tech firms to train artificial intelligence models using real performers' voices.
Many artists like myself are just barely getting by, and to have the results of our passion used against us is astounding.
Which sources its images by essentially scraping the internet without permission or attribution to artists.
So, AI. It does have genuine uses that don't interfere with human creativity. In fact, it could be argued that it could actually help generate ideas for artists and therefore improve creative output. However, when a person in the furry fandom hears the word AI, the first thing that comes to mind is usually the art generation, which is trained on other people's art that may or may not have consented. The issue with that is that even though an AI art piece may look different from what it was trained on, it isn't technically original, and there was no creative thought behind the creation of the piece. But there are far more points to cover in this video, so before I start rambling too much in the intro, let's get into the main part of the video. Before I talk about the hatred of AI, let me be the devil's advocate for a second and talk about how AI isn't all doom and gloom. It is argued by some that AI can actually complement human creativity and allow for more creative work to take place. Many artists globally use AI plugins to enhance their creative output, whether that be by removing objects or sounds, filling holes, and so on, or to get ideas for their art pieces if they're having an art block or want to step out of their comfort zone and try something new. This would be a good argument to make in favor of AI, but unfortunately it isn't the full story, and the positives are severely outweighed by the negatives, especially since not everybody uses AI in this way. Unfortunately, AI isn't something that appeared out of thin air or something that was trained like a child. Almost all companies who advertise any sort of creative generation have trained bots on both public license and copyrighted content. Of course, this wouldn't be an issue if consent was gathered from these copyright holders and licenses were bought, but that wasn't the case. OpenAI and other companies used these vast troves of data indiscriminately and then attempted to justify it by stating that these models couldn't have been created any other way. Not only was that method legally dubious, but it was also incredibly unethical, as the people behind the creative work didn't even receive credit or compensation for their large amount of effort or creativity, despite some AI companies charging for their services. Another argument that is often raised is that AI lacks personal touch or style, and that products are generated without thought or reasoning, instead just being an amalgamation of various creative pieces from various sources with no credit to the original creators. That is a problem, because in generated pieces such as AI art, it may look different from the data that it was trained on, but at the end of the day, it can't be considered a creative piece due to it being an unintentional creation based solely on other people's work. Another point often made with this argument is that since making a piece of art involves conscious decisions and deep thought, that AI can't be considered an artist in the first place and therefore shouldn't be branded that way. However, when a human claims that AI art generated by themselves based on prompts that are unique, they often claim that it should entitle them to copyright such work. The US doesn't allow this due to copyright only protecting human creators, but some governments, such as the UK, allow it, leaving an unstable framework globally on what should be considered original or created by humans. So, since the furry fandom essentially runs on art, you can see why most furries have a hatred for the creative generation by AI. Not only, in some cases, does it steal commissions or customers from upcoming artists, but it also removes the creative aspect of the furry fandom. An example of this could be that some people now choose to generate an image of their persona or generate a persona entirely instead of spending time thinking about how they they want an art piece to look, or fueling the art industry so that people can continue with their passions. Unfortunately, this is leading to less unique styles in the fandom, as art is copied or used for training, and some end up believing that they don't have to preserve this essential part of the community. Anyway, I'm not saying that there aren't good uses for AI that are helpful to many, or that AI will definitely be the downfall of the creative industries, but it should be clear to you why some people may think that way, especially considering how things have been going with all of this AI development recently. The primary issue lies with how AI interferes with or exploits human creativity rather than enhancing it, and then the effects that come after, where people abuse new technology, often to save money or sometimes to turn a profit. Since this is a sensitive topic, I would really like to know what you think. If you'd like, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below, or you can start a conversation on my Discord server at dsc.gg/skykes. And with that, I hope you all have a fantastic day.